Good evening, friends, fiends, and night owl supremes. And, curious, whimsical beings, because we're back for Alice in Wonderland Book 2 Through the Looking Glass. So I guess the full true title is actually Alice's Adventures in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. Whew. This is, of course, by Lewis Carroll, and it's been like a year since doing the last book. Things are different now in Wonderland, I'm sure. But it's nice to be back here with this, and it's a real book, and it smells so old. Yay. But yes, I hope you're ready for a curious and wonderful time for tonight's chapter of Through the Looking Glass, Chapter 1, The Looking Glass House. But before we jump right into it, make sure you have coffee, teapots, like a lot of them, because you could have a mad tea party of all your own. Gather your animal familiars, find the Cheshire Cat if you want, or 2 kittens. There are 2 kittens in tonight's beginning, which is adorable, and also, whatever, Alice. I guess we're get ready for that too. Whatever, Alice. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. She might have changed and matured in this story. We don't know. I mean, not been so mean. She's pretty mean-spirited in the first book. But we're in the middle of gathering our coffee, tea, animal familiars, blankets, pillows, fairy lights, candles, everything you need to get comfy and cozy and ready for tonight's chapter, Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass, Chapter 1, Looking Glass House. One thing was certain, that the white kitten had had nothing to do with it. It was the black kitten's fault entirely. Oh boy. For the white kitten had been having its face washed by the old cat for the last quarter of an hour, and bearing it pretty well, considering. So you see that it couldn't have had any hand in the mischief. No, I'm sure it didn't. The way Dinah washed her children's faces was this. Oh, Dinah's babies! Dinah was the cat from the first book. First, she held the poor thing down by its ears with one paw, and then with the other paw, she rubbed its face all over, the wrong way. Oof, shudder. Beginning at its nose. And just now, as I said, she was hard at work on the one kitten, which was lying quite still and trying to purr, no doubt feeling that it was all meant for its good. I mean, I love kittens, obviously, but I got a weird feeling about this. But the other kitten had been finished with earlier in the afternoon, and so, while Alice was sitting curled up in the corner of the great armchair, half talking to herself, oh, nothing's changed, and half asleep, the kitten had been having a grand game of romps with the ball of worsted Alice had been trying to wind up. Knitting is difficult with cats. Anyway, it's been having a time with the worsted weight yarn. She's been trying to wind up and had been rolling it up and down till it had come all undone again. And there it was, spread over the hearthrug, all knots and tangles, with the kitten running after its own tail in the middle. Oh my god, that's adorable. Oh, you wicked, wicked little thing, cried Alice, catching up with the kitten and giving it a little kiss to make it understand that it was in disgrace. She is a cat mom. This is true. I love it. Really, Dinah ought to have taught you better manners. You ought, Dinah, you know you ought, she added, looking reproachfully at the old cat. Old? Oh, Dinah's old? No. And speaking in as cross a voice as she could manage. And then she scrambled back into the armchair, taking the kitten and the worsted with her, and began winding up the ball again. But she didn't get on very fast, as she was talking all the time, sometimes to the kitten and sometimes to herself. Kitty sat very demurely on her knee, pretending to watch the progress of the winding, and now and then putting out one paw and gently touching the ball, as if it would be glad to help her if it might. Sure, my cats just like to take the yarn and run with it. And it's adorable when they take the whole ball, which is sometimes the size of them, and just parade through the room with it, and you're like, no, stop undoing what I'm making. That hat took forever. Cats are the best. They really are. It's never boring, it's never dull, and they listen. So right now, I'm very much feeling how Alice is probably feeling, content, happy, chit-chatting to the cat, trying to roll up a ball of yarn. Life is good. Do you know what tomorrow is, Kitty? Alice began. You'd have guessed if you'd been up in the window with me, only Dinah was making you tidy so you couldn't. I was watching the boys getting in sticks for the bonfire, and it was plenty of sticks, Kitty. Only it got so cold and it snowed so that they had to leave off. Never mind, we'll go see the bonfire tomorrow. Here Alice wound 2 or 3 turns of the worsted around the kitten's neck, just to see how it would look. Oh, I thought it was an accident. This led to a scramble, of course, in which the ball rolled down upon the floor and yards of it got unwound again. Do you know, I was so angry, Kitty, Alice went on as soon as they were comfortably settled again. When I saw all the mischief that you had been doing, I was very nearly opening the window and putting you out into the snow. What? No, God. Jeez, Alice. And you'd have deserved it, you mischievous little darling. No. What have you got to say for yourself? Now don't interrupt me, she went on, holding up one finger, but she just asked the cat what it had to say for itself, and then she's not going to let the cat talk. Oh my God, how rude, Alice. She should go back to Wonderland and learn some manners. Now don't interrupt me, she went on, holding up one finger. I'm going to tell you all your faults. That should be fun. Number 1, you squeaked twice when Dinah was washing your face this morning. Now you can't deny it, Kitty, I heard you. What's that you say? Pretending that the kitten was speaking. Her paw went into your eye? Well, that's your fault for keeping your eyes open. If you'd shut them tight up, it wouldn't have happened. Oh my God. That still would have bruised their eye. Oh my God. Alice. Number 2, you pulled Snowdrop away by the tail just as I had put down the saucer of milk before her. What, you were thirsty, were you? How do you know she wasn't thirsty too? Now for number 3, you unwound every bit of worsted while I wasn't looking. This cat sounds awesome, by the way. That's 3 faults, Kitty, and you've not been punished for any of them yet. You know I'm saving up all your punishments for Wednesday week. What are we reading? Why does she even have to punish the kitty? This is silly. I mean, unless she means just like, let's kiss it and give it scritches, but like, suppose they had saved up all my punishments, she went on, talking more to herself than the kitten. What would they do at the end of a year? I should be sent to prison, I suppose, when the day came. Or, let me see, suppose each punishment was going to be without a dinner. Then, when the miserable day came, I should have to go without 50 dinners at once. Well, you can only eat one at a time, so it's only count one time? Well, I shouldn't mind that much. I'd far rather go without them than eat them. Not me. What? I mean, unless you had to eat 50 dinners all at once, that would be really difficult. Unless dinner was like ice cream, I could probably do that really easily. Anyway, do you hear the snow against the window panes, Kitty? How nice and soft it sounds. Just as if someone was kissing the window all over outside. That's a weird visual. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting quite a bit. This story is something else, though. Just imagining someone kissing the window in the bitter cold outside, their lips sticking to the window pane, maybe? That'd be weird. I wonder if the snow loves the trees and fields that it kisses them so gently. And then it covers them up snug, you know, with a white quilt, and perhaps it says, "Go to sleep, darling, till the summer comes again." That's a nice visual. And when they wake up in the summer, Kitty, they dress themselves in all green and dance about whenever the wind blows. Oh, that's very pretty, cried Alice, dropping the ball of worsted to clap her hands. Now, who's unraveling the ball of yarn, Alice? It seems like you are not holding on to it. And I do so wish it was true. I'm sure the woods look sleepy in the autumn when the leaves are getting brown. Kitty, can you play chess? Now don't smile, my dear, I'm asking it seriously. Because when we were playing just now, you watched just as if you understood it. What? And when I said check, you purred. When did she say check? Maybe she said it and I didn't notice it, but I don't think I see it. Anyway, when she said check, supposedly, the kitty purred. Well, it was a nice check, Kitty, and I really might have won if it hadn't been for that nasty night that came wriggling down among my pieces. Kitty dear, let's pretend. And here I wish I could tell you half the things Alice used to say, beginning with her favorite phrase, let's pretend. She had quite a long argument with her sister only the day before, all because Alice had begun with, let's pretend we're kings and queens. And her sister, who liked to be very exact, had argued that they couldn't because there were only 2 of them and Alice had been reduced to say at last, "Well, you can be one of them then, and I'll be the rest." And once she had really frightened her old nurse by shouting suddenly in her ear, "Nurse, do let's pretend that I'm a hungry hyena and you're a bone." Oh, what? Why would you want? No. Alice is an interesting one. But this is taking us away from Alice's speech to the kitten. "Let's pretend that you are the Red Queen, kitty. Do you know, I think that if you sat up and folded your arms, you'd look exactly like her. Do try now, there's a dear." And Alice got the Red Queen off the table and set it up before the kitten as a model for it to imitate. However, the thing didn't succeed, principally, Alice said, because the kitten wouldn't fold its arms properly. So, to punish it, why are we punishing the cat so much? She held it up into the looking glass that it might see how sulky it was. "And if you're not good directly," Alice added, "why do we have to be good? We're a kitten. It's a kitten, for the love of Pete. I'll put you into that looking glass house. How would you like that? Now, if you'll only attend, kitty, and not talk so much, I'll tell you all my ideas about the looking glass house. First, there's a room you can see through the glass. That's just the same as our drawing room, only things go the other way. I can see all of it when I get upon a chair, all but the bit just behind the fireplace. Oh, I do so wish I could see that bit. I want so much to know whether they've a fire in the winter. You never can tell, you know, unless our fire smokes. And then the smoke comes up into that room too, but that may only just be pretense, just to make it look as if they had a fire. Well then, the books are something like our books, only the words go the wrong way. I know that because I've held up one of our books to the glass and then they hold up one in the other room. So, Alice has a very good imagination, or she's a little dense. I'm going to go with imagination because she's talking to a cat and we like to pretend the worlds are so big to our cats. But I'm curious who she thinks the they in the other room is, especially if it looks just like her. Or, benefit of the doubt for Alice, is it someone completely different that doesn't look like Alice? Are they in shadow? Is it a different looking person holding up the book? I want to know this. I don't think she's going to tell us though. How would you like to live in the looking glass house, kitty? I wonder if they'd give you milk in there? Perhaps looking glass milk isn't good to drink, but oh kitty, now we've come to the passage. You can just see a little peep of the passage in the looking glass house, if you leave the door of our drawing room wide open. And it's very like our passage as far as you can see, only you know it may be quite different on beyond. Oh kitty, how nice it would be if only we could get through to the looking glass house. I'm sure it's got, such beautiful things in it. Let's pretend there's a way of getting through the glass into it somehow, kitty. Let's pretend that the glass has got all soft like gauze and that we can get through. Why, it's turning into a sort of mist now, I declare. It'll be easy enough to get through. Is she making things happen by saying them? That's a great power. She was up on the chimney piece while she said this, though she hardly knew how she had got there. And certainly the glass was beginning to melt away, just like a bright silvery mist. In another moment, Alice was through the glass and had jumped lightly down into the looking glass room. The very first thing she did was to look whether there was a fire in the fireplace, and she was quite pleased to find that there was a real one, blazing away as brightly as the one she had left behind. So I shall be warm here as I was in the old room, thought Alice. Did she bring the cat with her? Warmer, in fact, because there'll be no one here to scold me away from the fire. You can't know that. Oh, what fun it'll be when they see me through the glass in here and can't get at me. I think I'd be freaking out. Like, oh my god, I'm trapped in here. My family can't see me or get to me, or they can see me but they can't get to me. I would be freaking out, and she's just like, oh, what good fun. I do have to admire that. She's very adaptable. Then she began looking about and noticed that what could be seen from the old room was quite common and uninteresting, but that all the rest was as different as possible. For instance, the pictures on the wall next to the fire seemed to be all alive, and the very clock on the chimney piece, you know that you can only see the back of it in the looking glass, had got a face of a little old man and grinned at her. What? That's really clever, actually. I like that. They don't keep this room so tidy as the other, Alice thought to herself. Who is the they? The other room is hers, and she keeps it tidy, presumably. Anyway, Alice thought to herself as she noticed several of the chessmen down in the hearth among the cinders. But in another moment, with a little "oh" of surprise, she was down on her hands and knees watching them. The chessmen were walking about 2 and 2. "Here are the Red King and the Red Queen," Alice said in a whisper for fear of frightening them. "And there are the White King and the White Queen sitting on the edge of the shovel. And here are the 2 castles walking arm in arm. I don't think they can hear me," she went on as she put her head down closer. "And I'm nearly sure they can't see me. I feel somehow as if I were getting invisible." Here, something began squeaking on the table behind Alice and made her turn her head just in time to see one of the white pawns roll over and begin kicking. The white pawns have feet? How? Maybe they all do. The picture shows them having feet. And the king and queen have faces, but the pawns do not. The bishops do not. The knights look like horses. The rooks look like castles, but they have feet, so it's a castle. Like a castle tower with feet. Adorable. Adorable. Anyway, the white pawn rolled over and began kicking. She watched it with great curiosity to see what would happen next. "It is the voice of my child," the White Queen cried out as she rushed past the king so violently that she knocked him over among the cinders. "My precious Lily, my imperial kitten," and she began scrambling wildly up the side of the fender. "Imperial fiddlestick," said the king, rubbing his nose, which had been hurt by the fall. He had been right to be a little annoyed with the queen, for he was covered with ashes from head to foot, and we've established he does have feet. Alice was very anxious to be of use, and as the poor little Lily was nearly screaming herself into a fit, she hastily picked up the queen and set her on the table by the side of her noisy little daughter. "Oh, that was nice, Alice." The queen gasped and sat down. The rapid journey through the air had quite taken away her breath, and for a minute or two she could do nothing but hug the little Lily in silence. As soon as she had recovered her breath a little, she called out to the White King, who was sitting sulkily among the ashes, "Mind the volcano." "What volcano?" asked the king, looking up anxiously into the fire, as if he thought that was the most likely place to find one. I would think so too. "Blew me up," panted the queen, who was only a little out of breath. "Mind you come up the regular way, don't get blown up." Alice watched the White King as he slowly struggled up from bar to bar, till at last she said, "Why, you'll be hours and hours getting to the table at that rate. I'd far better help you, hadn't I?" But the king took no notice of the question. It was quite clear that he could neither hear nor see her. So Alice picked him up very gently and lifted him across more slowly than she had lifted the queen, that she mightn't take his breath away. But before she put him on the table, she thought she might as well dust him a little, he was so covered with ashes. She said afterwards that she had never seen in all her life such a face as the king made. Well, I'm sure it's a weird feeling. When he found himself held in the air by an invisible hand and being dusted. He was far too much astonished to cry out, but his eyes and mouth went on getting larger and larger and rounder, till her hand shook so with laughing that she nearly let him drop upon the floor. That would have killed him, Alice. "Oh, please don't make such faces, my dear," she cried out, quite forgetting that the king couldn't hear her. "You made me laugh so that I can hardly hold you. And don't keep your mouth open so wide. All the ashes will get into it. There, now I think you're tidy enough. What is she, Dinah, cleaning off a kitten?" she added as she smoothed his hair and set him upon the table near the queen. The king immediately fell flat on his back and lay perfectly still, and Alice was a little alarmed at what she had done, well, yeah, and went round the room to see if she could find any water to throw over him. Not a good idea. Leave him be, Alice. You've already harassed him enough. However, she could find nothing but a bottle of ink, and when she got back with it, she found he had recovered. Well, good, because he would probably be not the Red King anymore. Or the White King? He's the White King, but he would be an ink king. And he and the queen were talking together in a frightened whisper, so low that Alice could hardly hear what they said. That's really in contrast to the Queen of Hearts, who just shouted everything, as we know. The king was saying, "I assure you, my dear, I turned cold to the very ends of my whiskers." To which the queen replied, "You haven't got any whiskers." "The horror of that moment," the king went on, "I shall never, never forget." "You will, though," said the queen, "if you don't make a memorandum of it." I like this, Queen. If you don't write it down, honey, you're not going to remember it. Alice looked on with great interest as the king took an enormous memorandum book out of his pocket and began writing. A sudden thought struck her, and she took hold of the end of the pencil, which came some way over his shoulder, and began writing for him. Oh boy. The poor king looked puzzled and unhappy and struggled with the pencil for some time without saying anything. But Alice was too strong for him. She is stronger than a chess piece. And at last he panted out, "My dear, I really must get a thinner pencil. I can't manage this one a bit. It writes all manner of things I don't intend." "What manner of things?" said the queen, looking over the book, in which Alice had put, "The white knight is sliding down the poker. He balances very badly." "That's not a memorandum of your feelings." Why would she write that in the book, not, "Hey, I'm a giant invisible girl helping you up onto the table. You're not forgetting things. It's me helping you." But no, she just gives a report on the knight's balance. Cool. There was a book lying near Alice on the table, and while she was watching the White King, for she was still a little anxious about him and had the ink all ready to throw over him in case he fainted again. Why? She turned over the leaves to find some part that she could read. "For it's all in some language I don't know," she said to herself. It was like this. And just so you know, friends and fiends, it's backwards, and spoiler, you're probably going to need a mirror to read it. So it's backwards and it's in italics, and I can't read it backwards, so I'll read it when it's forwards. Alice puzzled over this for some time, but at last a bright thought struck her. Why, it's a looking-glass book, of course. And if I hold it up to a glass, the words will all go the right way again. This was the poem that Alice read. Jabberwocky. "'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jubjub bird and shun the frumulous bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the man's own foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood awhile in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffing through the tugly wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snick or snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went glumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabulous day, callooh, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves and the mome raths outgrabe. It seems very pretty. Really? She said when she had finished it. But it's rather hard to understand. You see, she didn't like to confess, even to herself, that she couldn't make it out at all. Somehow it seems to fill my head with ideas, only I don't exactly know what they are. However, somebody killed something, that's clear at any rate. But oh, thought Alice, suddenly jumping up, if I don't make haste, I shall have to go back through the looking-glass before I've seen what the rest of the house is like. Let's have a look at the garden first. She has a thing for gardens. That's what she was trying to get to the whole time in the first book, the pretty garden. She was out of the room in a moment and ran down the stairs. Or at least it wasn't exactly running, but a new invention for getting downstairs quickly and easily, as Alice said to herself. She just kept the tips of her fingers on the handrail and floated gently down without ever touching the stairs. What? I want to do that with her feet. Then she floated on through the hall and would have gone straight out at the door in the same way if she hadn't caught hold of the doorpost. She was getting a little giddy with so much floating in the air and was rather glad to find herself walking again in the natural way. The end of Chapter 1 of Through the Looking-Glass. I want to float everywhere. That sounds fantastic. And bonus, we got to read the Jabberwocky poem. That's always pretty cool. And double bonus, 2 kittens. Oh, that's such a good story. We had 3 cats, a cool poem. Alice being Alice, but I mean, it is what it is, right? It's a fun story. And I hope you like Chapter 1. Do stay tuned for Chapter 2. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you would like to continue with the story. Probably am, but it's always good to know if this is your thing. I wish I could show you the pictures in the book as I'm reading it because, well, the old engravings are really cool. The Jabberwocky looks really cool. Really gross. Awesome. Awesome monster. But, like I said, stay tuned for chapter 2. And in the meantime, listen to some more stories if you will, if that's your want. Now off to sleep and dream what you will, or stay a while and enjoy another tale. Whichever you choose, I'll speak to you again, and until then, stay curious, my friends. Good night.